Why do so many dream of wealth, but so few achieve it? Economists, psychologists, and everyday people all wonder. Why do some build millions while others earn good salaries, but still struggle paycheck to paycheck? Are your financial decisions today quietly holding you back, like a slow leak in a tire? Welcome to Investor Voice. I'm Michael. Here we share real strategies about money and investing that work for regular people over time. No hype, no quick fixes. Today we explore a powerful case study comparing two individuals, both earning the same income, whose contrasting financial habits lead to vastly different outcomes. We will highlight how specific decisions, from spending to investing, create a multi-million-dollar gap over a lifetime. See why, with identical starting points, one retires wealthy while the other faces financial worry. Let's address a key financial decision: how much of your income to save. When you start earning, the question becomes, spend it all on lifestyle now or save for the future? The average American saves just 4.6% of income. Most keep less than 5 cents per dollar and spend the rest for short-term pleasure. Financial experts recommend saving 25% of your gross income, not 4.6%. It sounds hard, but compound interest rewards early, aggressive saving. The sooner you start, the greater your gains. The gap between 4.6% and 25% is vast. It decides whether you struggle or are free, work forever or retire comfortably, hope or know you're secure. To understand the impact, imagine two people earning the same income, around $83,700 per year. One saves an average of 4.6%, about $321 monthly. The other saves 25%, about $1,744 per month. Choosing to save more each month can make a remarkable difference. Now, let's project these examples forward. If both individuals continue these habits from age 30 to 65, 35 years of consistent saving and investing, the outcomes are remarkably different. Assuming 7 to 8% average annual returns, the person saving 25% builds over $4 million by retirement. That's $4 million generating income, providing security, and funding retirement without worry. In contrast, the person saving only 4.6% ends with around $700,000. This is still real money, but presents a very different reality, one that requires careful budgeting and may still leave room for worry. To make matters even more challenging, the typical American often doesn't even reach that smaller amount in practice. Many dip into savings for emergencies, stop contributing during tough times, or cash out 401ks when changing jobs. Lifestyle inflation frequently consumes raises. As a result, the gap between these scenarios widens even further. So the gap in reality is even larger than the numbers suggest. A chasm between the wealthy and the struggling, between those who have options and those who do not. Now let us move to the second major financial decision that often destroys wealth before it even has a chance to grow. This decision is about buying a car. Cars are among the fastest depreciating purchases most people ever make. A terrible investment from a purely financial perspective, a black hole for wealth. Unlike a house, which may appreciate over time, or an investment, which may grow in value, a car loses value from the moment you drive it off the lot. The moment a new car leaves the dealership, it begins to lose value, often 10 to 20% in the first year alone. It is a depreciating asset, and yet many people treat car purchases as status symbols rather than financial decisions, as expressions of identity rather than transportation choices. They buy more cars than they need, more cars than they can afford, because of how it makes them feel, because of what it says about them to others, because of the image it projects. Financial planners often warn that buying too expensive a car early in life can seriously damage long-term wealth building. It is a trap that catches many young professionals who want to signal their success and look the part. Many young professionals make the mistake of purchasing a luxury vehicle shortly after starting their careers, committing themselves to large monthly payments for many years. They see it as a reward for their hard work, as a symbol of their achievement, as something they deserve. But those payments drain money that could otherwise be invested and growing in the background, working for them instead of for the bank. Over time, that money could compound into a significant sum, a down payment on a house, a start on retirement savings, a foundation for financial independence. There is, however, a more responsible approach known as the 20-3-8 rule for car financing. This guideline is a simple but powerful framework that can save you thousands, even tens of thousands, over your lifetime, and potentially hundreds of thousands when you consider the opportunity cost of invested money. It suggests putting at least 20% down on a car purchase, so you are not underwater from day one, owing more than the car is worth, which is a dangerous financial position. It suggests financing the vehicle for no more than 3 years, so you are not making payments forever. You own the car free and clear quickly, and you can redirect that money to investments. And it suggests ensuring that the monthly car payment does not exceed 8% of your monthly gross income. These boundaries prevent car purchases from dominating your financial life, from consuming money that should be going toward your future, and from delaying your progress toward financial independence. Consider how this plays out in practice for the average American. According to recent data, the average American today might finance a car worth more than $43,000 with a monthly payment of around $772 and a loan term of close to 70 months. That is nearly 6 years of payments, 6 years of being tied to a car loan, 6 years of money that could have been invested, 6 years of compound growth that will never happen. Meanwhile, someone following a more disciplined approach might buy a reliable used car, maybe a few years old with low mileage, a Honda or Toyota that will run forever, finance it responsibly, and end up with a smaller monthly payment and a much shorter loan term, perhaps 3 years or less. They might pay $20,000 instead of $43,000, saving $23,000 up front, plus thousands more in interest over the life of the loan. Over time, this difference becomes significant, even dramatic in its impact on wealth. One person spends years making large car payments, while the other pays off the vehicle quickly and begins investing the same monthly amount. After just a few years, the disciplined buyer could accumulate tens of thousands of dollars in investments while still owning a paid-off car that runs perfectly fine for years to come. Now imagine what happens when those investments continue growing for decades. That $40,000 difference, the amount saved on the car purchase, could potentially grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars by retirement, depending on market returns and the power of compounding. And since many people replace cars every few years, repeating this mistake multiple times over a lifetime can cost millions of dollars in lost wealth, in missed opportunities, in financial security that could have been theirs. The third major financial decision that shapes long-term wealth is housing. For most families, buying a home is the largest financial transaction they will ever make, the biggest number on their balance sheet, the most significant commitment of their lives. Because of that, even small differences in mortgage decisions can dramatically affect financial outcomes over time, creating ripples that last for decades throughout the mortgage term and beyond. Many Americans spend more than 1/3 of their income on housing expenses, including mortgage payments, property taxes, and insurance. When such a large share of income goes toward housing, there is very little left for saving and investing. The house becomes a wealth trap rather than a wealth builder, consuming resources that could be invested elsewhere, limiting options and flexibility. This is why many financial planners suggest keeping total housing costs closer to 25% of gross income whenever possible. That extra 8%, the difference between 33% and 25%, can be directed toward investments that grow over time, toward retirement accounts, toward financial freedom. It is not about depriving yourself of a nice home or living in a place you hate. It is about balance, about not letting one expense consume all your financial oxygen, about making trade-offs that serve your long-term goals, about understanding that a slightly smaller house today can mean a much larger retirement portfolio tomorrow. One practical framework for responsible home buying is the 3-5-25 guideline. This approach suggests putting 3 to 5% down on a first home, which is achievable for many first-time buyers without draining all their savings or needing to borrow from family. It suggests planning to live in the property for at least 5 years so you can build equity and recover the transaction costs of buying and selling, which can be substantial, often 10% or more of the home's value. And it suggests ensuring the total housing payment stays below 25% of gross income, giving you margin for other goals, for saving and investing and living, for building wealth instead of just paying the bank. When someone spends 33% of income on housing instead of 25%, the difference may seem small at first, just a few $100s a month. But over a 30-year mortgage, that 8% gap can represent hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been invested instead, money that could have grown into a substantial nest egg. Imagine two homeowners earning the same income. One buys a slightly more expensive home, maybe in a trendier neighborhood with better schools, and spends 1/3 of income on the mortgage. The other buys a slightly smaller home, or one in a less expensive area, keeping housing costs within 25% of income. The second homeowner has several $100s more available each month to invest in retirement accounts, in brokerage accounts, and in their future. Over 30 years, that extra monthly investment, consistently saved and compounded, can grow into more than $1 million, depending on market returns and the power of compounding. That is $1 million that the first homeowner sacrificed for a slightly nicer house. Meanwhile, the person who spent more on housing may have a valuable home, an asset that has appreciated, but far fewer liquid investments to support retirement, to provide income, to give them flexibility and options. They are house rich, but cash poor, a common and frustrating situation that leaves people with limited choices in retirement. The final and perhaps most powerful financial decision involves timing, specifically when someone begins investing. Time is one of the most valuable assets in personal finance, and it is the one asset you cannot get back once it is gone. It is irreplaceable, and its value is often underestimated until it is too late. When someone starts investing early, they allow compound growth to work for them over many decades, turning small amounts into large sums through the magic of compounding. When someone delays, they lose that time forever, and no amount of later saving can fully compensate for those lost years. For example, a single dollar invested at age 20 can grow dramatically by retirement because it has more than 40 years to compound, to earn returns on returns, to multiply many times over. By the time someone reaches age 30, that same dollar has already lost a significant portion of its growth potential, simply because 10 years of compounding have disappeared. You cannot get those years back. If someone waits until age 40 to begin investing, the difference becomes even more dramatic. The opportunity for growth shrinks dramatically because there are far fewer years left for investments to compound, to work their magic, to build wealth. This is why starting early often matters more than saving larger amounts later. The numbers are striking and worth understanding deeply. In one common scenario, a person begins saving modestly at age 20 and gradually increases their savings rate over time. Another person waits until age 30, but immediately begins saving aggressively, putting away 25% of their income from day one. Surprisingly, the person who started earlier can still end up with millions more in wealth by retirement, even though they initially saved less money each year. The power of time simply outweighs the difference in savings rate. It is not about how much you save in any given year. It is about how many years you give your money to grow, to compound, to work for you. Starting early is the single most important factor in building wealth. These 4 decisions, how much you save, the car you buy, the house you buy, and when you start investing, may seem like ordinary life choices. They are the kinds of things people decide every day without much thought, without realizing the long-term consequences, without understanding the mathematics of wealth. But over time, they can create dramatic financial consequences, the difference between millions and nothing, between freedom and stress, between options and limitations. 2 people earning the same income, starting from the same place, with the same opportunities, can end up in completely different financial situations depending on how they handle these decisions. One retires wealthy, with options, security, and peace of mind. The other retirees worried, dependent on Social Security, and uncertain about the future, hoping they have enough to get by. And this is the most important lesson of all, the one that should guide every financial decision you make, the one that should be at the forefront of your mind every time you are tempted to spend on something you do not need. Building wealth rarely comes from one extraordinary decision, one lucky stock pick, one brilliant business idea that takes off. Instead, it comes from a series of small, disciplined choices, repeated consistently over time, year after year, decade after decade. It comes from saving a little more, spending a little less, investing early, and letting compound growth do its work. Every dollar you save, every expense you control, and every investment you make moves you closer to financial independence, closer to the life you want to live, closer to the freedom you deserve. At Investor Voice, the goal is to help you understand these principles so you can make smarter financial decisions and build a future that gives you freedom, security, and control over your time. Not just for yourself, but for the people you love and want to protect. Because in the end, wealth is not simply about earning more money. It is about using the money you earn in a way that creates lasting opportunity for your future, that gives you options, that allows you to live life on your own terms, without stress and worry, without constantly wondering if you will have enough. If you found this breakdown helpful, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. It helps more people find this content and join our community of smart, motivated individuals who are serious about their financial future. And if you know someone who is struggling with any of these topics, someone who is stressed about money or confused about what to do, share this video with them. It might just give them the perspective. Effectively, they need to make better decisions and improve their lives. While you are at it, smash that like button. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video on Investor Voice.